Scott Garvis. And Scott, it is Garvis, correct? Scott is the CEO for the Dale Carnegie company here in South Florida. He's a trusted partner for driving results in the area of sales, leadership, and employee engagement. You know, when I read that, sales, leadership, and employee engagement, all of us as leaders of our respective companies, associations, whoever we work for, we're all in sales, we're all leading all the time. And so I'm delighted that Scott's going to be presenting to us, because now we kind of focus on ourselves. We all need continuous education. We all need to learn new tricks of the trade. We all need to learn how to be better leaders, better managers, and how to engage our employees. So this is about us. And Scott's the guy to do it, because he brings 17 years of professional development, sales management experience from here at Dale Carnegie in South Florida. And they've consistently achieved double-digit growth. Anybody in the room that can say that their company for the past 17 years has consistently achieved 17% or double-digit growth for 17 years? Any hands? One hand. Donna, is that you? We're going to check this now. Joe, have you had 17 years? Okay, we'll check that later. In 2011, he was recognized, this is Scott again, as a recipient of the South Florida Business Journal's Under 40 Award, and also became an approved and top-rated Vistage speaker. He currently serves on the Dale Carnegie Franchisee Board of Directors, contributes to developing and updating the courses that Dale Carnegie give. He's also a member of the Fort Lauderdale Executive Association, Pinehurst Fathers Club, and previously served on the Boys and Girls Club of Broward County and the Board of Directors. He's a native of South Florida. We won't hold against him that he's an FSU Seminole. And he currently lives in Hollywood, Florida. Scott, come on up here and give us some continuous education.
Good afternoon. And go Knowles, right? No tomatoes. First of all, I want to thank Deirdre and Kitty for making it possible for me to be here today. Through their introduction is why I'm here. And I also want to congratulate all of us for being here, part of Superyacht, knowing in only your short amount of time, since around 2005, that you have presence in around 16 countries, about 23 states. So way to go. I mean, we're involved in many associations, and that doesn't happen by accident. It happens by the hard work in this room that you put in and the effort to make this association what it is. So thank you. I'm honored to be here. And also, John, thank you for your introduction. Today really is about us. If we think about how we take a day or an hour, to work on attitude and interpersonal skills, it really is something that's going to be very useful to all of us. So if we could maybe turn the technology off just for you. I don't care what you do, but maybe think about the computers, the iPhones, or whatever you're using, and just focus on ourselves for just a brief hour. And I promise that we'll make this an extremely beneficial time for us. To get us started, though, take a moment, look to one person next to you, shake hands, and say hello. Just try it. Go. Okay, just one. We can network later, right, when we go out there. Just one. No problem. Keep this in mind. About a month ago, the person you just shook hands with, they borrowed $500 from you. You were generous. They needed the money. You gave it to them. And they said, I'll pay you right back. But guess what? They didn't. They've texted them. You've emailed them. You called them. They're just not getting back to you. But guess what? To your surprise, they said, you know what? I'm going to give you back your $500 in interest. Sorry, $500 plus another $500 in interest. Now say hi to that person. Now, and by the way, this 1 hour is very interactive. We'll get feedback from you guys. We're going to practice some things. So here's the first question. What was different about us the second time versus the first? We had more what towards that person? More what? Enthusiasm, right? Pretty much. Now, anything else besides enthusiasm? Sincerity, yes. Here's what's important. When your partner shook your hands with more enthusiasm, more sincerity, how did it make you feel towards that person? More what? Caring? Connected? One more over here. Interested. How important is it as leaders, as John said, and as sales folks, to connect with people, right? Caring. Is that important for us? Yeah. So keep in mind, there was only one thing that changed the first time versus the second. It was our what? It was our attitude towards a person. So don't think about how we can only control who in this world? Who? Ourselves. But think about the different outcome the second time versus the first, because we put more effort into something, right? A couple of days ago, I was on vacation, and I had the pleasure of going skiing. And on the way back from Denver, I was flying a certain airline, and as I'm walking on the plane, there's a little station there where people are, where the flight attendant sits. This is what I saw. As I'm, what was that person doing? They were preparing the plane, their food. But think about what opportunity did that person have to connect with me, right? And they didn't, right? So keep in mind, we need to prioritize how we make other people feel. But guess what it starts with? It starts with our own attitude. Let's just see what your thoughts are about attitude. Everybody have a handout? Okay, on the top of the handout, it says the Dale Carnegie Superyacht. There's a place that says successful person. Do you see that? Write the initials down of one person you consider to be a successful person. Just one. Put the initials down. Someone you know of. And after that, write down a couple of things about that person that you admire. Got it? All right. So what we're going to do as a group is I'm not going to ask you what the initials are. That's your business. But we're just going to hear from a few people. What were some of the characteristics that you appreciate about this successful person? And as you read them out, I'll classify them as an S for a skill they have, attitude that they carry, or knowledge or their intellect. Make sense? So who would start us out in the middle? One area, Deirdre. Compassion. With it, skill, attitude, or knowledge? Attitude, right? There's one for attitude. Someone else. Integrity. We know what that is, right? Somebody else. Dedicated. That's an easy one. Attitude. Personality. Is that skill, knowledge, or attitude in your mind? All right. Somebody else. Trustworthy. Attitude. Somebody else. Humility. Attitude. They listen. Is that an attitude or skill in your mind? Leadership. Attitude or skill? The way you see this person. Honesty. We know what that is, right? Responsibility, we got that. Can't really take a class on that, right? This is just someone's attitude. Over here? Intelligent. We got one for knowledge. Way to go. Mindful. Is that attitude, skill, or knowledge in your mind? Okay, so that's attitude. One more? Tenacity. We got you, right? All right. So with every group, we do this thousands of times. The key was how we perceive successful people and what makes them stand out in our minds. And every time, we always get one for knowledge, one or two for skill, but what dominates it? Somebody's. That's right. And Harvard did one study on attitude, and they found that 94% of our success is dependent on our attitude. Does it mean that skills or knowledge are not important? Never said that. Everything is important. But how we judge people is more by their attitude. And if you think about, as John said, selling or leading, it's attitude, it's influence. So we got to really be intentional about how we come across. And most people don't get any development or coaching on attitude. So today, as we can see, we're going to focus on really 4 key things. We're going to strengthen our attitude. We're going to learn how we can take that attitude and put it be intentional into a personal brand or the way that we represent ourselves daily. And then we're going to get into some ways to influence other people. And then we're going to end with using some of those ways to influence people and build relationships to make us more effective at this, event and others by networking more effectively. How many of us have to network every day? Build relationships? We're in the right place. Okay? So, now, if we talk about attitude, the first thing we have to realize is what influences your attitude. Picture this. You wake up, you guys are in the marine industry or yacht, you're probably early risers, right? You're up at 6 or, whatever you are. Unless you're in sales, maybe you get up at 8, whatever we're doing. So we're up at 6, we do whatever we want to do between 6 or 7, and when the day starts. Think about some things that influence your attitude personally, but when you wake up until the time you hit your first work, right? What are some things? Anybody? Weather. And what else? Keep coming. Great. You notice one thing? Oh, it's interesting, and we wonder why our attitude is challenged a lot of times. Now, one thing you said was positive. No one said, I put my favorite music in the car, or focusing on my goals, or realizing my strengths. Remember, I never said what negatively impacts you. I said what influences you. And this is what we do to ourselves every day. Interesting, right? So we got to figure out, like for me, on the way here today, I'd just give you an example. I'm on the way here. All I thought about was you guys. There's going to be 100 people in the room who want to help today, and they're going to be happy for that. And it makes me feel like I can't wait to get there. Versus, oh, it's an hour drive from Hollywood. I got an hour drive back in the traffic, whatever it is. I'm just happy to be here, right? Traffic and weather. Weather's better now. It wasn't great earlier, right? Traffic's never great. But why are we here? So again, do you think it'd be important for us to work on some techniques to make our attitude better? There's 10 of them right in front of you. Take a look at them just briefly. We won't cover all of them, but as we look them over, check off ones that you can identify with, whatever that means, whether it's you've done them before, you want to try that, it's worked for you. Live in day-tight compartments. So what that means, that was from our famous book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. It's the fancy way of saying live in the now. Don't worry about today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. So focusing more on right now. Being thankful and proud for where you're at, not where you're not, or where you could be or should be, or your challenges. All right. 30 seconds, just check off things. The more we can write things down and get involved, the more we'll be impacted by this 1 hour when we leave. I'm going to talk about just a few of these, just because we're only together for an hour. And a couple of these that really work for me, and then we'll get a little from you guys. Be a lifelong learner. How many of us read here and there? At least the Triton. We read the Triton at least? Where's David? Right? We got to read that. About a year ago, my colleague, and by the way, I've got two special guests here today. One is in the back with a gray suit. She's our VP of Sales and Marketing, Christine Pallison. And we have up here our sales and marketing consultant, Eric Tebow. Okay, up here. Please stand so they can see you. Okay, thank you. Okay. About a year ago, this person in the back of the room, Christine, gave me a book. And it was called To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. And it was a great book because most people think of sales, would you agree, is not a positive word? Yes? Most people? Not me, I love it. So the book was a modern day version of how so many people have to sell their ideas daily, but might not be in a sales role. And they said about 70% of people have to sell their ideas. And most people are not great at it. As I'm reading that book, it reaffirmed for me what I do for a living, because Dale Carnegie helps people sell their ideas and communicate. And again, just gave me this inspiration and want to go help more people and the opportunity that we have. And my attitude towards my career was like, wow, this is a great thing. I've done this almost for 19 years. So along the way, we've got to get a pick-me-up once in a while. So for us, readers are leaders. Readers are leaders. So whatever you want to read about your industry, about leadership, or about sales, or take programs from places that can help you, we we want to at least do that one time a year. You know, the best companies in the world, if you look at Fortune magazine, they do a study on the top 100 companies to work for every year, and Google's at the top now. They do an average of 40 hours of classroom training per employee, and they're the best. So whatever we can do to keep ourselves sharp, we want to do that. So this is just one. Number two, be persistent. Do great things happen the first time usually for most of us? Rejection is a very important thing in this world. Rejection makes things fun because we're going to get over it and move on. Again, about 8 years ago, I was living in Boca Raton, and I would drive down Military Trail and see this huge building. And on the top of the building were 3 letters. It said A, D like dog, T like Tom. Security. Right? I said, wow, they have 6,000 salespeople at that group. I want to work with that company, right? Sales training company, let's make this happen. So went to a networking group, and I'll talk more about this networking stuff later. Met one of the executives who introduced me to somebody else, who introduced me to somebody else. 18 months later, of knocking on the door, I sold the largest account in Dale Carnegie's history. I tell you that, right? Because I had a goal in my mind. I set my sights on it, made it happen. For any of us, would you agree? If you want something, you'll get it. You can get it. Would you agree with that? Do you want something? Right. And but we stop. Most people give up after a couple of tries. So if you say, I want to work with this individual, or I want to acquire this business, or I want to hire this person, if we set our sights on something and don't stop till we get it, we'll probably get it. So really clarify what you want, and just work on that, right? And then as you do this, we've got to celebrate effort ongoing, right? I was with my wife last night. We went out for a drink to an Irish bar. We don't usually go out, but I said I'm going to go out. And she said to me, the first thing she said was, I said, how was your day? And she said, wasn't that great? So I said, okay, why? Well, I went to she does business with the cruise industry. I went to Royal Caribbean, and my meeting got postponed. I met somebody else, it didn't work out. Just was down. So I asked her a question, well, what went well today? Well, I got 15 minutes with this really high-level person that's hard to reach. But what dominated her attitude was what? What didn't happen? So we've got to celebrate effort, not just outcome, right? So what you might want to try that's really helped me, because I'm someone that takes work home sometime, and I'm a high-driving individual, is at the end of the day, ask yourself one question. I would write this down. It's been a game changer for me. What went well? What went well? Watch what happens, watch what happens to what you take home with you that night, right? Or again, thinking about picturing past successes before you walk into a room. So, real quick, would anybody like to share one that stands out for them that I'll just break down briefly? Anybody? One of the techniques that you loved? Which one? What number? Michael? Be resilient, right? Which is don't give up. That's right, absolutely. Because again, the easy stuff, the hard stuff doesn't come easy. Why don't you do this, just so we can kind of break the ice. Turn to a partner for just 60 seconds, and just tell your partner one thing you're going to do differently because we went over these 10 principles. Ready? Go. Just share. One thing differently. Who would share one thing? One outcome from this exercise. What are you going to do? Or what's your partner going to do? Anybody? Deirdre. Celebrate effort. That's right. Again, we could be down about what we're not doing, but why not celebrate what we're trying to do? Yes.
Be optimistic in the face of negativity.
Absolutely. View change as an opportunity as well, right? Because a lot of us view change as negative, right? Somebody else. Anybody like the word picture past successes? Again, I was thinking last night before I was getting ready for this talk again, just going over my notes, as I pictured myself, January 15th, I was on a cruise ship, the NCL Sky, doing this exact talk, almost the same, for an air conditioning company, and they loved it. So I pictured past successes, and then that really, really helped me, right? Anybody else? Yes, that's hard to do though, right? Because sometimes we're either married to them or we work with them, right? That's right. Be creative. Yeah, and what is that? What's your name? Jay, what does that mean to you, be creative? That's right. You know, we can either create or innovate. One thing, a great leadership lesson you might want to consider is when you're going to innovate your organization or work on making it better, involve your team. Ask your people, in what ways can we X, Y, Z? And get your people involved to help you innovate and make things better, right? So it's really important that we focus on this because we said earlier that this dominates our perception of successful people. And I haven't found a better tool than this personal brand statement to help us to be intentional about projecting the attitude that we want to be known for. Quick example. I do business with a gentleman. Anybody here sell life insurance? Anybody sell life insurance? Nobody? Nobody? No. Okay. So I will not mention this person's name or company because I don't want to be in conflict with the person in the room. But there's an individual that I get all my policies from. But he is so great at making you feel important, and the energy that he brings, and this caring attitude towards myself and my family, that it's almost like he's developed this bulletproof client base that no one's going to go anywhere because this attitude he projects. Do I know what I'm buying a little bit? Do I read the policies? Not really. I'm an average consumer that gets the statements. But what I consider that he's made a real effort, right, in projecting this caring attitude and enthusiasm towards his clients. And it really stands out for me. How do your clients perceive you, right? How do our team members perceive us, right? We have a huge impact on our teams and our effort that we have. So don't forget that how we need to be intentional about how we want to be perceived. So let's define it. If we could, you'll see there on the sheet where we go to the next page, page 2. Page 2. Take about a minute, 90 seconds, and fill that out. We're going to get you started on your personal brand. So, again, follow the instructions. It's very simple. Just fill out those 2 areas, and then attempt to fill out the bottom. Ready? Any questions, just raise your hand. My colleagues or myself will come by and clarify it for you. So, again, the key to this thing is to focus on what are you best at, and what do we want to be known for? And why is this so important today? I think even more important than it ever has been. If we think about how our world has become so digital, social media, the way things look and feel, attraction is key. So attitude, the right attitude equals attraction. You know, it's almost like we're a walking billboard for ourselves. And people are like, if you think about, well, Scott, Facebook and LinkedIn is not important. Well, it's just, it might not see tangible results today, but it's just the way it is. And it's the way it's going to be moving forward. So we've got to really know what we want to be and then project that. And when we're doing our social media things and putting things up, biographies about ourselves, to be clear on what we want to be known for. So we do it in 2 ways, through digital and through electronic, but also through our own personal brand. A couple of years ago, about 5 years ago, I decided to become an expert at sales management. I saw out there that, first of all, I'm a sales manager, or I have just salespeople for many years. I did. Now Christine does that. And I realized how challenging it was for sales managers. And I looked around and I said, these people get no training. They go from salesperson to sales manager, and all they do is do what? Change their title. So I said, what I want to be known for, right, is someone that helps sales grow in the organization. And it doesn't happen just by training the salespeople. It happens by what? Training the leader. And when I got clear on that, the business went up. People were calling me for different reasons. And I really felt more comfortable and more confident with who I was. So again, if I was going to do this for myself, I'll just give it to you real quick and then we'll talk about you, is that I want to be known as a person who is vital and critical to the success of organizations. When I just say that to myself, I I'm not a training guy anymore. I'm a partner to the executives, right? And I'm an expert at driving revenue to organizations. And then I'm unique because I'm a friendly guy, but I'm going to tell you exactly how it is when I coach you. Or you're not going to pay for someone to be your best friend. You're going to pay for someone that's going to help you get better. So I'm friendly and I'm firm. And that's really and when I own that, wow, nothing's going to stop me. So so just real quick, and then the last question as we talk about really is really where are you going? Like, what is a goal you have in mind? And with all of this stuff that I want to do, or that I want to be known for, I'm going to build a stronger organization. So just real quick, as you just took about 3 minutes to circle some things about yourself and fill out the bottom, how are you feeling? Anybody? What are some of the growth areas or your attitude? What's changed in the last 5 minutes? Anybody? More focus. Somebody else? More motivated. It's interesting. Innovation. Over here. It's coming. It's coming. Wait for it. Okay, nice. Does anybody feel like a stronger sense of self? Anybody? A little, maybe a fraction more confident? You mentioned motivated. What would motivate you about, or what would motivate someone about identifying their strengths and what makes them unique? Why would that be motivating? Who wants to take a stab at that? Huh? It reaffirms your belief in who you are versus focusing on what we're not, right? This is like that ultimate spa day where you go and get the cleanse, and now we're really getting into it. This is the core of identifying what you want to be known for and what makes us unique. Everybody please stand. Find a partner and communicate what's at the bottom of that page to a partner. You can do it in 3s or 2s, it's up to you. Ready, begin. Now how are you feeling? Not good anymore? What happened? How are you feel? I mean, you started off being more motivated. Now you actually had to get up and own it and share it with somebody. How'd that work out? Why? Why do you think it works out to share, get on your feet, express yourself when you're talking about yourself and what you want to be known for? Why is that important?
I think you're really bringing who we want to be to the forefront.
That's who we are.
Becoming conscious about it.
Correct. And conscious and intentional. Authenticates it, yes. Somebody else? Just a silly example for myself. My goal is to floss every day. That's the goal, right? How many of us have a challenge remembering that? Right? Don't lie. We're okay. So when the floss is in the drawer, for me, doesn't always happen. Maybe 4 times a week versus 7. What did I do? A little piece of tape on the mirror, the floss. I use a lot of tape, but it's getting done. Why? Because it's at the front of my mind. It's right there. That's right. So we have to really own who we are and what we want to be known for, right? You might want to consider, is this how we're projecting ourselves now? If you asked anybody on your teams or your clients, those 3 at the bottom, is this me? What would they say? Don't answer the question, right? What would they say? And what gets in the way? Let's go back to those 10 attitude improvement steps. That's the first thing we got to do is really be okay with who we are. From the minute you wake up in the morning to say, what influences my attitude? What can I do to start off on the right foot? For example, kids, whatever, all this. I mean, I got a kid who's 5 years old, and she goes to school 35 minutes away from our home. I have to drive her there 2 or 3 times a week. So maybe when I started out, I said, this is tough. It's early. Now I replace it with this. And actually my colleague Christine, who's close to our family, will say, I'm getting 40 minutes of quality time with my daughter. Right? 40 minutes. I'm lucky to have a daughter. Yes? Okay, so, little thing, and that's not being religious or spirit, nothing like that. It's just realizing what we got. And that really helps you. You can say coffee and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. But again, what's going well with your attitude, right? And starting off on the right foot. Okay? So, the goal of this whole thing is to act accordingly to what's at the bottom of that page. How do you do it? It's nothing. Maybe you have to take a class on some skills, maybe, who knows, or learn some knowledge, but really focusing on that attitude. Right? So, and we heard earlier, Neil said something about being motivating. How many of us here have to manage or lead people? Most of us, yeah. So if you think about how this is motivating to you to realize who you are, one of the things you could try to do is interview your people that work for you. Find out what's important to them, right? Things they're doing outside of work. What are their values? What are they trying to accomplish for themselves? And watch what happens to their level of engagement. You know, for leaders, there's 3 things right now that we call macro trends that are on the minds of leaders. 3 things. Employee engagement. This is public information. Employee engagement, these are the top things, the trends that are going on. Employee engagement, leadership development, and the last one is tied into the second one, succession planning. We've ignored almost all of those things, especially the succession planning and development. And now we have a big gap in the workforce where who's next, right? Who's next? And so these are things. So if we want to build our people, we have to learn what they're made of. If you want to build yourself, what you're doing here today, you've identified who you are and what you want to accomplish and what makes us all unique. Right? Don't put this away. Picture Scott with that dental floss thing. Tape it to the mirror and make it happen. And by the way, you've already made it happen because we've all acted like this, but sometimes we get off course. Right? So, now think about this. How many people in this room would you say, when you think about this personal brand, it's related to other people in your organization, in your life, right? Let's build relationships. Anybody here? Is that connected to the brand, personal brand? Absolutely it is. So who's read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Who's read it? Great. You know, it's the #2 selling book ever behind the Bible is our book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Pick it up for yourself as a reinforcement for this. You can get it anywhere. Just make sure you get the book. It's critical. Warren Buffett said that the Dale Carnegie degree was the most important degree he ever got because it helped him to deal with people. So there's 9 principles from this book that are never going to go away, but that are absolute game changers for business or personal lives. Go back to the first page if we could. Take a quick look at the bottom, quick peek. Again, do that same thing. Tick off 1 or 2 of the principles that you can relate to, that are important to you, whether it's a challenge or an area that you want to work on for ourselves. Just real quick. Part of our goal here today is to work on our ability to network. So we're going to apply this next few minutes on applying some of these relationships to making it more productive for us these next couple of days or when we're out networking or out building relationships with customers. So again, I'm not going to talk about all 9, but a couple that are really critical to the success of networking. Number 1, become genuinely interested in other people. What's the key word there? Right. How do you show genuine interest? By using your what? Your ears. That's exactly right. And in our mouth, too, by the questions that we ask. What's everyone's favorite topic? So if we want to engage people and be successful at networking or building teams or building relationships with customers, if we know the most important thing to them is themselves, why do we talk so much about us? Meaning our products, ourselves. Why do we do that? Right? Because most of us think of selling as telling, and it's not. This is the most critical thing that's important to people. So, quick story. I had back surgery back in around 2001. And again, I had that herniated disc where that leg pain was so bad, it was awful. So I said, it's time. I went and had surgery up in Jupiter, Dr. Campbell, amazing doctor. And I went in, had the surgery, had the disc shaved off, pain-free. I mean, what a miracle, awesome. He says, Scott, if you want to keep yourself pain-free, you got to get some physical therapy. So what did I do? I went to that clinic where you go 3 times a week. They get you in, they get you out. I didn't feel like it was working. It was too quick for me. So I called the doctor. I said, "Doctor, what do I do?" He said, "Scott, hire a private person to come to your house and spend time with you." So I found 2 candidates that were referred to me. The first person was, she had her doctorate basically in physical therapy. And she told me about her credentials. I'm like, I got to hire this person. Then I met John. And John had the equivalent, if she had her doctorate, he had his master's. So she was more qualified than him. So John started the meeting off with me asking me about what I did for work, how I felt, what my goals were. Spent a lot of time on me. Then he told me about his credentials, where were almost as good as hers. Who did I pick to work on my back for 2 years? Who? Yeah, but he wasn't quite as good, though. Why did I do that? That's right. That's right. What's the point? The point is, people don't care how much you know until what? They know how much you care. So this again, John, he stood out by his what? His care. Yes, okay, this. But what did he? So the question is, how do we spend more genuine interest with people? And if you just give us a few minutes, we're going to go over a technique that will help us do that. Another one is this. Who has a challenge with this beside me sometimes? Hands up. Yeah. Why does that happen? Because we're focusing on who? Ourselves. Right? My thought here is before you go to a networking event, work on your attitude so when you go in you can focus on the other person versus what's going on with ourselves. Our time management or what we got to do. Focus on people. Quick story. I grew up actually in North Palm Beach, right there in the village, North Palm Beach. And there was a Shell station there. My dad is with Dale Carnegie as well. And there was a Shell station over in that Prosperity Farms area many years ago. And my dad would go get gas there. And the first time he got gas there, the guy whose name was actually Jim that owned it, took my dad's credit card and said, because this was back in the day, people got credit cards or they would do full service. He said, "Thank you, Larry." And so because of that, my dad said, "Well, I can get gas anywhere, but this person's called me by name." So this place was not easy to get to. He had to make a U-turn. He kept going back. And he kept going back, right? And by that time, they're building a relationship, and then he worked on my dad's car. But the point was, he can get gas anywhere. But how did Jim make him feel? Important. And the credit card. And so the names are right there in front of us. Use and remember people's names. Dale Carnegie said this back in the 30s. It's so relevant, right? The sweetest and most important sound in any language is somebody's name. Try to remember it, and then use it later on. And again, in our Dale Carnegie course, we teach this technique. It takes a couple of hours, but it can be done, right? Number 7, be a good listener. Encourage other people to talk about themselves. Again, that's related to number 4. So when we ask questions, for example, if somebody says, "Well, where do you work?" And they say, "Well, I work at Dale Carnegie." How long have you worked at Dale Carnegie? See that? Be a good listener. And don't just go, "Well, Dale Carnegie, okay," and then move on. Go deeper with people and see how they react to it. Encourage other people to talk about themselves. Back in the How to Win Friends book, which you hopefully have read, they said Dale Carnegie was a great conversationalist back in the day. You know why he was? He was at a dinner party one time, and he asked this lady one question, and she talked for 30 minutes. And afterward, he said, "You know what, Dale? You're a great conversationalist." And guess what? He didn't say anything, right? Encourage other people. Who's in sales, by the way? Who does a lot of selling? The heartbeat is right here. If we're not asking more questions than talking about ourselves, we're not maximizing our ability to sell, right? Go deeper. Find out what's important to people. And again, if we apply these principles 1 through 8, we make the other person feel important, and we do it what? Sincerely. Look at number 2. What does it say? Anybody number 2? What does it say? That's right. You know, that's the number one motivator of any employee on your team. Not money. Don't listen to me. Go study Maslow and study all these great things out there. Number one motivator is recognition. We've got to do more of that with our team members. The problem is most of us don't know how to do it. Quick tip. Just tell somebody what you like and tell them why you like it. You know, you could say, I could say to someone like Kitty, or no, she's not, I'll do Deirdre. I can say, Deirdre, you know, you're really a dedicated individual. I could stop there. What does that mean? Or I could say, Deirdre, you're a really good friend, and stop there. Or I could say, Deirdre, you're a really dedicated, good friend. The reason I say that is because you really went to bat for me, and you really tried hard to get us into the Superyacht Summit. Thank you so much. You see, I talked about, I reinforced the behavior, what you like and why you like it. So powerful, right? Let's go back to number 4. Become what? Okay. By show of hands, who would like to be more effective at this? Show of hands. Awesome. You're in the right place. You're still in the right place. Put your pens down, please. Put our pens down, put our phones down, put everything down. Relax. We're going to work on a technique that'll help you be better at this. Then we're going to practice it, so you got to pay attention. Picture this. Picture a giant nameplate, like you see on someone's desk. You got it? And on top of that nameplate is a globe of the world. And on top of that globe is a house. What's the first object? We have a what? We have a what? With a, and a, all right. Inside the house is a family. And one family member is holding up a giant wrench. Can you see it? On one side of the wrench is a plus sign. Turn it over, you have a minus sign. From the bottom we have a what? With a, and a, with a, holding a, with a. Inside the wrench, the teeth of the wrench, is a golf bag. And out of the golf bag is not a golf club, but a telescope. One more time, we have a what? Real quick, recite it to a partner. Go. Try it real quick. Recite it. Focus on the pictures, not the words. Got it? You're probably wondering, what is this? To me, this is the greatest networking tool I've ever seen. Why? It gives you areas of interest that you can remember to show in other people. So we're going to go through it real quick, and then we're going to practice it. First object's a what? Right. The first question you ask somebody is, what's your name? Or if you know the name, use the name. Right? Second object is a what? Where are you from? On top of the globe is a what? Inside the house. You guys are really, really great. You guys are very awesome. I mean, big on the nod. Keep in mind, this is not basic. This is fundamentals. This is fundamentals. You think about, again, just real briefly, what's going on here in Jupiter or Port St. Lucie. You've got thousands of baseball players practicing the same thing they practiced 5 years ago, which is what? Getting the balls, swinging, the fundamentals. Common knowledge is not always what? Common practice. But then we have a what inside the house? Family. I'm going to give you this one because it's a little tricky. Don't say, do you have a family, or do you have kids, or are you married? Just use this question. Very easy. Tell me about your family. Okay? If you get there, you might not even get to that question. We don't want to offend anybody, or it's a little personal. But when you say tell about your family, I had someone a couple weeks ago tell me, I have 9 cats. Okay, that's cool. Whatever you want to tell me, it's fine. Right? So then the family's holding up a what? What do you do for work? If you know what they do for work, for example, if you know somebody works at wherever, what do you do there? So the interest area is work. So find out more about their work. Plus sign is what do you like about your job? The minus sign is what are some of the challenges that you face at XYZ company? And then the golf bag is what? When you're not working, what do? And then the telescope is, what are you looking forward to? What's in your future? Whatever you want to make that. So this makes it, for a lot of us, this is where I've seen it work. Some people are introverted. They need a process to work on this. Some people don't know how to fill in the dead spots. They need some momentum to keep going. Or how to get started with the conversation. Or what to say when you go to networking events. This is it. You don't say anything. You ask. Right? So what we're going to do is this. We got about 15 minutes together. We'll take the next 4 or 5 minutes, and we're going to partner up with someone in this room we don't know very well. A stranger. Not your best friend, because that's not going to help you right now, right? We're going to, in a moment, I'll ask you to stand. Not yet. And we're not going to do this in 3s or 4s. It's going to be 2 people. If there's an odd person out, nope me. If there's an odd number here, Christine or Eric will work with you. Okay, so we got no problems. So when we get together in partnerships, if you don't find a partner, if you would, just raise your hand. I don't have a partner, and we'll find you one. Or someone else will have their hand up, and you guys will get together. And what we'll do is, once you get in your partnerships, this is a chance for us to get a lead or a referral or whatever we're going to do right now, is that whoever has the darkest shirt on will ask the questions first. If your shirt is the same color, you go to the hair color, okay? Are we good? No problem. Are we good? Does anybody have a question about this? I know you guys are really intelligent, so who has a question? Deirdre. One partner for the time. But you'll practice this at our coffee break. You'll practice this tomorrow. We've got to make this event the best it can be for us, and all events that we go to, right? And all of our client interactions. So, when I say go, everybody stand, find a partner. Don't start till I say go again. Everybody up, find a partner. Find a partner. Who does not have a partner? Raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you've not found a partner. Shh. Who does not have a partner? All right. Shh. Is everybody ready? We'll give you 2 minutes apiece. I'll time you. Ready, set, network. Okay, let's talk about the exercise. First of all, how'd you feel towards somebody else who took a genuine interest in you? How'd you feel towards them? That's right. What if we did this more? What could the impact be for you? Where can we apply it? Clients, right here, right? So if it made us feel awesome, right, how's it going to make other people feel around us? You think it might help us stand out a little bit? The attitude? And again, what's everyone's favorite topic is who? Themselves, Rich, right. So what did you like about the process? Anybody have a thought about the stack and the pictures? How did it help you? Yeah, it makes it fun. It kind of keeps it in sequence. Yeah, anybody else? And by the way, I've done this for a long time, so I know there's some people in the room who feel like they're not great at networking or they're uncomfortable with that. This is a way to be more comfortable. Why? Because you're putting everything on who? The other person. So if you're like, I don't want to talk about myself or whatever, good. Because that's what you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to talk about other people, right? Get them talking. So again, keep in mind that the best networkers are the ones that get other people talking. Let's make a commitment over the next day or so to do this more with people. Could it open more doors for us, possibly? Anybody make an alliance? Here's one more thing before we move on. Who found something in common with your partner? Show your hands. Isn't that great? What does that do? What does that allow for? It does. It makes it all better. We all have things in common with people. So if we all have more in common, we can work better together, communicate more effectively, or align ourselves. So let's go out and really take a genuine interest in people. A couple of other thoughts as we wrap this session up, because our hour is almost up. Some tips on how to be better at networking. If you turn to the last page, you'll see some tips. Everybody there? All right. So one thing to consider is when you're going to join a group or go to a meeting, clarify why you're there. Have a purpose. I want to meet certain people, or I want to get my name out. Just clarify why you're going. It'll help all of us to give us that motivation to want to go. So first of all, clarify why you're here. If you're going to go somewhere like a luncheon or a breakfast or these meetings, get there early. Why? You can spend time building relationships. Once this thing starts, you can't build relationships unless you're talking while the other person's speaking, which you don't want to do, right? So get there early so we can really talk with people. And also, if we get there early, guess who else is there? Other people who care about the meeting. Quick example, I went to the Boca Raton Chamber years ago to a meeting, and I got there early. And I got to speak to that person from ADT, one of the founders of ADT, because he was the speaker for that luncheon. Great. So get there early. The speaker's there. The association management's there. Get there early and spend time building relationships. Plus, it'll help us feel more relaxed in that environment. Also, stay afterward. Wrap it up. Make sure you plan enough time to get that conversation going after the meeting is over. Here's a great one that people break all the time, right? Look familiar? When we go have dinner, for example, if you're going to a place that has a round table of 8 people, and you go with 2 of your friends, there's 3 of you at the table, and only 5 new people you have to meet. Here's the problem. The 3 of you have to divide up and conquer those 5. So we only get 1.5 people apiece that we can share to meet. Versus if you're by yourself at that table of 8, how many people are you going to meet? 7. All right? So why not? You can meet your friends later or your spouse later if it's appropriate. Get there and spend time with people that you might want to get away from your spouse. Is that what I'm hearing? No. Spend time with people that we don't know. Push our comfort zones. Upscale who you're speaking to. If you want to go speak to that leader, do it. The other day I was at a meeting at FAU's Business Person of the Year, and the founder of Nova Southeastern University was there, Dr. Ray Ferreira, right? Ray, I think that's Ferreira. And I walked up to him, and we talked, and we had something in common. This is a big guy in the community, right? So whoever that big person you want to meet with or an important person, approach them. They're just human beings. When you get there, what do? Be genuinely interested in people. Ask the right questions, right? Don't talk about yourself. Be consistent. If you're going to join a group, don't go twice and say, I got nothing out of it. Remember, clarify why you're going and then stick with it. Sometimes it's not the right fit, but most of us give up after 1 or 2 events. Be seen and consistently, and people will start trusting who we are. Ask for help. You know, one of the things I've always done is when I go to a meeting early, I'll spend time with the people putting the meeting on, like the kiddies or the Julies or the people, and say, you know what, I see someone's coming from that company. Would you introduce me to that person? Guess what they do? No problem. Or ask them. So again, don't be afraid to ask for help from people that work for the group. They're happy to do it. That's why that we're here. Whereas why we're investing the money and the time is to connect with each other. So speaking of connecting, you can take your phones out now if you'd like. I'd love to do it. Dale Carnegie, South Florida. We're on Facebook. We've got white papers. We've got an article. We'd love to see you and be connected with you on Facebook. Dale Carnegie, South Florida. Also, I've got a LinkedIn page, Scott Garvis on LinkedIn. Love to have you connect with me. We can share resources, etc. Just briefly, on the back of your page, one of the great things about having a local presenter like myself is that if anybody here feels like, hey, I want more help, or my company needs more help, we're here for you. My father started the Dale Carnegie business here 40-plus years ago. We've been here a long time. If you need help with sales, or you've got employees that need help with communication or presentation, or you got new people into management that need help in management, we'd love to help you. We do coaching, training, or customized programs. So keep us in mind. Right? But as I close, who has a question about today that needs clarification? I'll stay afterward as well. But anybody who has a question about the topic or about anything in business that might be on your mind that you'd like to get just a feedback or an answer on? Anybody have a question? Please, your name? Peter. I'll repeat your question so they can help you. The question was, how do we do business in this technological new business, right? And it's been going on for a while. I guess you obviously can't tell somebody to put their phones down. But what's everyone's favorite topic again is who? And that hasn't changed. So if we're talking about networking and you see somebody on their phone, there's no reason why you can't go by and say, hi, Jim. Jim's going to put their phone down. Why? Because Jim heard his what? That's right. Right? And Jim, by the way, where are you from? Jim will be happy to put that down. He's just doing that, or not Jim in this room, because I know Jim. Where's Jim? I know Jim. But they're just doing that, right? Because they're not seeing the value of connecting with other people. So keep trying, be persistent. But also, we need to embrace technology, right? We need to use technology as something, for example, Scott, Facebook and all that. I don't want to say you guys feel that way, but embrace it. Use technology as a way to make our business better, to make us more productive, right? And I'll be happy to be out. We'll talk more about it if you'd like afterward. But again, let's not fight it, but people still want to be shown interest in. So when we're out in the hobby and you see somebody like that, go up and talk to them. They got a name badge. Hi, Michael. That phone's going to go right away. If Michael's dealing with an emergency, he'll tell you. Who has the last and final question? Michael.
Dental floss. You get a little pack. They have these little ones you keep in the car and in your pocket.
With the stick on there? You know, Michael gave me a tip about the floss. My daughter is 5, is using those, right? It's kind of a training floss, but thank you for that. But anybody have one quick question? Listen, it's been my pleasure to be here today, and we're going to end with a quick Dale Carnegie quote, and I want to thank you for your time. Please go out there and brand yourself. Pay attention to your attitude and how you're being impacted, or you're impacting other people. There's a principle. There's actually a saying from the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale said, you can make more friends in 2 minutes than you can in 2 years by showing genuine interest in people versus trying to get people interested in you. Have a great rest of your conference. Thank you.